Let's look at another problem. This one we're going to kind of have the opposite thing that I have the equilibrium constant and I'm going to figure out what the equilibrium concentration should be. I'm going to start it on the PowerPoint, but then I'm going to move to some written notes. So we're starting with, this is an initial concentration of A, very simple reaction. So I'm starting with 3 here. And for my product, I start with 0. We pretend that we're starting with just reactant, and then we're going to let it react. As it reacts, what will the change in A be? We'll have A lose X. X of A will react, and how much B will we gain? Whatever X is, we'll gain that much. And then remember this last step, all you're doing is adding these two together. And these are my expressions for the equilibrium of A and B. And now I'm going to switch to my written notes. So this is where I was. I had my equilibrium concentrations. And so I'm looking for this value. Let's write our equilibrium constant expression, product over reactant, and none of them have exponents because the coefficients are 1. Okay, and then I'm going to plug in these because these are they represent my equilibrium concentrations. So I'm going to plug those in. And actually, let's just go ahead and put our equilibrium constant here. We were given what it is. So and then we're going to solve for X. So just like usual, I got rid of my fraction, then I'm going to multiply through. I'm going to gather my x's to one side. During all of this, I keep a lot of digits, and I'll show you at the end how we decide how to round for sig figs. We generally, when we get into a lot of algebra, we wait to the end and then use what makes sense. So since we found X, if we look back here, X was our equilibrium concentration of B. And so we found that. And then as far as sig figs go, what you do is you look at your concentrations and your equilibrium constant. And originally this one it went to 2 past the decimal. It had 3, and this one has 3. On this one, we're not adding or anything to get to, we're not comparing it to anything but 0. So for sig figs, you should go with 3 because that's what the equilibrium constant had. On A though, let's look at A. A is equal to 3 minus x. I've already cut this off. But because the 3 only went 2 past the decimal, it doesn't make any sense that we would go any more past, because this original concentration, we didn't know what numbers were out here, so it doesn't make sense that we would have numbers out here. So when you're determining concentrations at the end, if you had a starting concentration, use the add and subtract rule to get it. If you didn't have a starting concentration, it was 0, a perfect number, then we're looking at our equilibrium constant to get that. Okay, and we have our equilibrium concentrations.